District meeting. I'm Jim Raymond, the school moderator. We have the usual exciting program for you. I'm glad to see you all here, but with your cooperation, we'll get you out in time to finish buying your cocktail sauce and Doritos that you're going to need for tomorrow's game. To start the meeting, we're fortunate to have again this year the high school, or members of the high school select vocal ensemble to lead us in the singing of the national anthem after we give the Pledge of Allegiance, which is going to be led by Stephen Hannenberg, one of the members of the ensemble. So if you will join us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you to the ensemble, and particularly to Josh, the maestro, who leads them, the music program at Goffstown. It's one of the gems of the town. And on that note, most of the members of the ensemble will be in the high school musical, which is the Addams Family musical, on February 17th and 18th, and the 24th and the 25th on Fridays and Saturdays. Both days. If you've never gone to a high school musical, I recommend them. And Josh tells me tickets go on sale tomorrow, so you could catch up with him on that. Moving to the business side of this, I'd like to first introduce members of the boards and committees that make this meeting possible. Goffstown, like most towns, operates with the efforts of volunteers who give a lot of time so we can have a school that functions. And I'd like us to give them a recognition. First, on the school board, I'm going to ask you, so you're up front, just put your hand up. You don't have to stand up. Diane McCarthy, the chair. Stephen Dutton, the vice chair. Retta Chaffee, Dan Cloutier, Laurie Cloutier, Christy Curtis, Ginny McKinnon, Janelle O'Brien, and Heather Trapez. Also with us is Wendy Lambert, the chair of the New Boston School Board. I'm not sure where she is. Hiding in back, there she is. It's nice of her to come to our meeting. Thank you. Next, I should tell you, this is my annual opportunity to massacre names. I take full advantage of it. So I will proceed to do that. Members of the Budget Committee, not all of whom are here, but I'm going to ask you to stand when I say your name. Elizabeth Dubril, the chair. Scott Gross, vice chair. Susanna, is it Buzzell or Buzzell? Buzzell, thank you. John Safford, Carl Soderquist, Michael Smith, Emily Sandblade, Dennis Lynch, George Fullerton, Craig Campbell, Angela McKenzie, Brian Fournier, Richard Fletcher is the Goffstown Water Precinct representative, Diane McCarthy is the school board representative, and Peter Georganis is the selectman's representative. I'd like to acknowledge the school administrators who are here. Brian Bakke, who is the superintendent. Why don't you stand? People should know who you are. Whether you want to. You got off easily. Mary Claire Berry, the assistant superintendent. Kate McGrath, the human resources director. Ray Labora, the business administrator, and Selena Malera, did I come close on that, the special education director. The principals, Frank McBride, the high school, way in back, Wendy Hastings, Mountain View Middle School, Jerry St. Gelais, who is the Bartlett principal, in back, Suzanne Pritzka, the Maple Ave principal. I didn't come very close on that one. And Kathy Stoyle, the Glen Lake principal. Members of the general court, I like to recognize the only two I see are David Pierce and Claire Rouillard. Are there any others present? I want to acknowledge that representatives of the Board of Selectmen from the other side of town government who have come, Peter Georganis, Mark LeMay are here, David Pierce, who I don't see yet, are Collis Adams and Alan Brown. It's nice to have the town side. Kathy Ball is the town clerk, and she's here as well. I'm getting to him. Just a minute. We're also fortunate to have, again, our state senator, Lou D'Alessandro. It's an honor to have him attend our meetings. As in past years, if somebody reminds me, we afford him a few minutes at the end of the meeting to tell us all the solutions he has to all the challenges in Concord. Also with me is Joanne Duffy, is the school district clerk. You've heard this lecture, but I'm going to repeat it in short form. This is the school district deliberative session. We do not do the final voting at this meeting. That is on the traditional town meeting day, the second Tuesday in March, when you go and vote by ballot. Instead, at this meeting, we discuss, deliberate, and can amend certain warrant articles. Goffstown has adopted the official ballot system, so you no longer have the traditional school and town meetings. What we do today after we discuss, debate, is we create the final form of the warrant article that will then appear on the written ballot that you vote on the second Tuesday in March. We do not have to take any action on any warrant article. It will go on as written, so we don't have to move it at the end of the meeting. It just goes on the ballot. Usual rules of procedure, we follow Raymond's rules of good order and civility, copies of which are available for sale in the lobby at intermission. If you wish to speak, wait until you're recognized by the moderator, me, and come forward to one of the two microphones up front. I know you probably have iron lungs and we can hear you, but this meeting is being broadcast for all the voters, all the thousands of voters who aren't here and are watching on television. So to capture your words, you have to speak to the microphone. When you speak, please identify who you are, even if you've lived in Goffstown for 100 years, unless you've spoken within the last 2 minutes, but beyond that, our memories fade. Typical rules: I do not allow any personal criticism, any challenge to people's motives. We'll discuss substance but not people. I will not allow any critical comments directed to any individual. If you wish to amend an article, I'm not inviting you to, but if you wish to, you may make it in orally, and then we have forms for you to fill out because we need it in writing. Are there any questions about the procedure we're going to follow? Seeing none, let me tell you what happens each time we bring up an article. There are only 2 of them, this won't take long. We allow the school board to move to bring them to the floor. That brings them so we can discuss them. They have a chance to explain it, and then you have an opportunity to ask questions, amend if you so wish, and then at the end, we'll just close the discussion, move on to the next warrant article. Okay, let's move to the meeting then. What have I forgotten so far? Anything? The first thing we want to do is have the school board recognize people who have made significant contributions to the school in the last year. Again, this, as I said before, towns like Goffstown rely on volunteers and special efforts, so we want to give the school board an opportunity to recognize them. Diane?
Thank you. Without a doubt, running a school district takes a strong partnership between the district, the community, parents, business partners, and we're very fortunate that we enjoy such good relationships. So before we get started with the business, we do just like to take a few moments to recognize those who have made significant impact within our school district, and we recognize them through both the Dreamkeeper and the Cornerstone Award. We've got some videos set up for you because they tell the story far better than we could. Thank you.
Each year, the Goffstown School Board presents the Deliberative Award in recognition of people or organizations in the community that have truly gone the extra mile to make the Goffstown dream of providing a superior education a reality. We're pleased to announce that the 2017 recipient of the Dreamkeeper Award is Dolores Seek.
I've had the opportunity to have Dolores as a part of my life for about 40 years. And while we're recognizing her this year for the work that she's done coordinating foreign exchange students and programming in the district, her reach has been much larger for many, many years in this community.
Growing up, my family began hosting exchange students through Dolores when I was in elementary school. We hosted students from all around the world, including South and Central America, Europe, and Asia.
For the last decade, I've worked with Dolores as she has placed students at Goffstown High School. And through that experience, I have routinely seen Dolores seeking to help make the world a smaller place.
When I moved back to Goffstown and started my own family, Dolores asked if I would be willing to host an exchange student myself. Knowing my own experience living with students from around the world, I of course wanted my children to have the opportunity to have a similar experience.
The first day I arrived in Manchester Airport, Dolores Seek, my coordinator, met me there. And starting from that day, I began to admire her positive energy and enthusiasm. She found me the best host family
We had an old beat-up golf cart that he wanted to make look even better, so a little spray paint, some decals. It now looks brand new.
Armin is consistent, he's kind, he's caring, incredibly competent. Anything that needs to be done or fixed or cleaned up, Armin does it, and he does it with a smile on his face.
He is just well-rounded and a joy to be around, and just gets along well with everybody. He even helps the ladies in the kitchen do the dishes after lunch.
Couldn't be more proud of the work that Armin does daily, and again, I'm so happy that he's recognized for this award. Well done, Armin.
I couldn't be more pleased and more honored to recognize this year's recipients of the Cornerstone Award. Both Armand and Val are both excellent examples of the dedicated professionals we have in the Goffstown School District who go above and beyond every day for our kids and our collective mission of advancing student learning. Thank you both. I'm exceptionally proud of you.
Could we have Armand and Val come to accept their awards?
I promised Elizabeth I'd forget, but I remember thus far, you wanted to say something to the budget members, so. You're good? Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move in now to the warrant articles. There are 3 of them. The first is, Article 1 is the election of school board. That goes on the ballot. That does not, there's nothing to discuss, there's nothing to amend, so we're going to pass over the warrant, Article number 1. There's nothing for us to do with it. Article 2 is the general budget article. I will read it, but this is a wording prescribed by statute, which means the only amendable portion of it is the dollar amount. So, Article 2. Shall the Goffstown School District raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with a warrant or as amended by vote of the first session, which is this session, for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $41,146,272. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $40,933,772, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the Goffstown School District or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA Article 14, Section 13, subsections 10 and 16, to take up the article and a revised operating budget only. This warrant article does not include appropriations in any other warrant articles. It requires a majority vote when we vote on it. As I said, the wording, it's prescribed because we're an official ballot town. This is the wording that you use on an official ballot for the operating budget. Do I hear a motion to bring it forward? Okay, Diane McCarthy moves it. Steve Dutton seconds. Diane or Steve?
Okay, I can go through. Oh, I see. Play from start. That's all right. I'm sorry, guys. Do you mind if we just go through this few? All right. So Article 2. Article 2 addresses the operating budget for the 2017-18 school year. As Jim mentioned, the school board's proposed budget is $41,146,272. This does come before you today unanimously recommended by both the school board and the budget committee. Gary, you're killing me.
I'm trying to get to it. At the top. I know. It's on a different screen, though.
I thank you all for your patience.
Here it comes.
All right. Thank goodness for small miracles. All right, so this year the default is coming in at $40,933,772. That is, of course, calculated pursuant to statute and is essentially last year's operating budget plus any contractual obligations and then minus any one-time expenses. So as we move through budget operation this year was a certain set of priorities that were held in focus. One, maintaining current programming because we don't want to be falling behind. Teaching and learning, of course, is at the heart of our day-to-day operations. And certainly safety. The safety of our children, our staff, our things is paramount. Additionally, we need to make sure that we are meeting the diverse needs of all of our students. And all this we always look to achieve while keeping our spending low. An additional priority that we had this year is we knew we were bringing forward a support staff contract. Our support staff, of course, work hard every day and make invaluable contributions to our day-to-day operations, and therefore their contract was a priority of ours as well. So a lot of work goes into this budget. Before it gets before you today, it passes through many, many hands. And endures many hours of scrutiny. It begins in July and August at the building level as the building level principals take a look at their needs and determine what their budgets should be for the following year. Then moves on to the SAU offices in September, where the superintendent and his staff, in collaboration with the building level principals, make their own adjustments and spend hours scrutinizing and making some determinations there. From there in October, it gets to the school board, in which we dedicate several meetings to our own review, adjustment, make sure it's with the priorities, et cetera, before we then move it on to the budget committee, where once again, from November through December, it endures many, many hours more of scrutiny, and their own other adjustments are made as anyone sees fit. I do just want to take this moment to thank the Budget Committee for their great work this year. This year's budget season for us was marked with a good deal of conversation, great questions, curiosity, and in general just thoughtful consideration. And it's the end result of that that we can bring this budget before you unanimously, recommended by both bodies. So thank you. So from start to finish, overall, we've cut about $44,000 off the budget from the time it started to the time it gets to you today. So in talking about a budget, it's always important to be mindful of your revenue sources, and certainly we at the school board are incredibly cognizant of the fact that about half of our revenue is raised by local taxes. We are sensitive to it and very aware of it as we move through our budget work. Additional revenues include state taxes. We receive something called adequacy aid, which is a per pupil allocation that comes from the state. It is interesting to note that adequacy aid is down slightly this year, and that comes as a result of conversations at the state level and changes that were made in the allocation. We also receive something from the state called catastrophic aid. That is connected to our special educational services, and it's designed to help offset against extreme cases. Any expenditures over a $10,000 threshold for one case, we do receive about 65% of those costs back in the form of catastrophic aid. Food service is another revenue for us. This includes federal funds connected to food services, state funds, as well as the revenues that are generated by our operations of our food service. Medicaid, that's linked to special educational services. We, of course, receive tuition from the sending district of New Boston. We also still receive some building aid. That's in conjunction with the project that was done here at the high school many years ago. And then we also do receive monies from a variety of different smaller grants, such as IDEA, Title I, et cetera. So just as a comparison against last year, this year's budget does represent an increase of almost $1.2 million over last year, or about 3%. There are a few things driving that increase. One of them was New Hampshire retirement system. We've probably heard talk in years past about some downshifting from the state level to the local level, and the New Hampshire retirement is one of those situations. The increase is about $400,000 from our district this year, and that's the amount more that we are required to pay into that system as we move forward. Another driver here is health insurance. It's up about $400,000. Is based on the guaranteed maximum rate. It does vary from year to year. I do think it's important to note, though, you may recall that last year we brought forward a teacher's contract, and that was approved by the voters. Within the terms of that teacher's contract was a change in the health insurance drivers. Had we not changed that, this amount, as much as it does seem high, would have actually been higher. So again, we're thankful that it is not higher than what we're looking at now. Additional driver there is payroll. That was not unexpected. That was consistent with the collective bargaining agreement that was approved last year. And certainly being able to attract and retain quality educational professionals is a key component to running a successful school district and educating our students. So all that being said, what are we looking at for taxes? The proposed budget is estimated to impact taxes at a rate of 64 cents per thousand, as compared to the default budget, which we're looking at about 55 cents per thousand. Translating that into different terms, if you have a $250,000 home, you should be looking at about a $160 increase versus $137.50 with the default budget, the difference there being $22.50. So this is what a $41 million budget looks like, and what I want to point out to you here is got a good strong 2/3 to almost 3/4 of this pie is going directly to student services. The remainder quarter, I don't have a cursor, I would have loved to have pointed out, but the quarter up on the top left, that's your debt service, food service, oversight management, transportation. The remainder of that pie is going directly to our kiddos. So the Goffstown School District consists of 5 schools, grades pre-K through 12. Next year, we are expecting to educate 2,810 young minds. This is an increase up from 2,801. This is noteworthy for 2 reasons, really. One, this is the last year, the last from Goffstown, from Dunbarton is going through. We expect them to graduate this spring. So this is the last year that we expect a class from Dunbarton. What do you need? Oh, it was done though. Oh, thank you very much. Okay, so we're losing a class from Dunbarton, and yet we continue to expect our population to rise. And the other part that makes this noteworthy is I think a lot of you may be aware that there is a consistent trend statewide of decreasing populations in our school districts. And this is interesting because both Goffstown and New Boston school districts are bucking that trend. Our enrollments are at a minimum holding steady, if not rising up a little bit. I think it's because of our great schools. So we talked about increase, talked about different between default and proposed. These are the items that made it through, and here's why. We're proposing adding a new 4th grade teacher at Maple Avenue. You may be aware we do not take the idea of adding staff lightly. It's something that is given a lot of consideration and discussion. However, this decision was driven by class size. Without adding that 4th grade teacher, we're staring down the barrel of class sizes of about 32 to 34. And again, that's attributable to our population rate. However, we also do feel very strongly that class sizes of 32 to 34 is far too large, particularly in the elementary grades. If you look at state recommendations, they recommend in 4th grade that our class sizes do not exceed any more than 30. By adding this additional teacher, it will accomplish reducing our class sizes to approximately 22 students per class, which is certainly much more manageable and what we believe to be in the very best interest of our students. Another change that we're proposing is a .4 music teacher at Mountain View Middle School. And to be clear, that's not adding another person. That is taking what is currently a part-time position and moving it into a full-time position. This is driven by curriculum. It is also driven by the recent experience over many years of high turnover in that position. Certainly turnover is expensive. What's happening is we're hiring somebody part-time, we're training them, we're getting them acclimated, and they're taking their new skills and moving them into a district who will hire them on a full-time basis. Again, turnover is costly. It also does not lend itself to consistency and continuity within a department. So in support of the efforts in the music department, looking to reduce some costs related to turnover as well as support the department consistently, we are proposing that we increase that to a full-time position. Something else that this budget supports, we operate an NEAS&C accredited high school. This is good for our students because it improves their prospects as they move along to college. It also improves their prospects as they apply for financial aid. Additionally speaking, we are required to operate an accredited high school via the area agreement that we have with New Boston. This is something that needs to happen every 10 years, and we are currently up for renewal. So we see the expenses for this reaccreditation now, and the good news is we won't see them again for another 10 years. Additionally, in the budget, we've got some curriculum equipment at GHS, specifically microscopes. Those have been, they're about 20 plus years old. They are beyond what their reparable lives are, and we need to be starting to phase them in. We're doing that on a 3-year plan to avoid a big chunk of an increase, but nonetheless, we to provide our students and make sure that they have technology that actually works when they're in their labs. Same thing with the spectrophotometer that's related to our AP Bio and our AP Chem classes. And again, this is a machine that has just outlived its life, and it needs to be replaced. Other than that, we do have some business class-related software, I believe it's QuickBooks, in the budget for the students at the high school. We also have some curriculum-related supplies in the budget for the elementary and middle school students. They are related to literacy and math supports. This is not new programming. These are just additional layers of supports for our students in their reading and their math programs. Other than that, what we have in there, this is facilities-related expenditures district-wide. And the long and short of it is it represents a shift in approach from a reactive approach to a more proactive approach. And the effort here is to reduce our costs over the long term. So how do we compare in our spending to our peers around the state? This list you see here, these are school districts that either compare to us via size or by geography. Goffstown has historically, as many of you I know are aware, we've historically been in the lower tier as it pertains to our spending per pupil. This year is no different. We are $2,400, as you can see, under the state average, and we are significantly lower than many of our peers in the state. We talked about teacher salaries a little bit a few slides ago, and as consistent with our spending per pupil, Goffstown has historically been on the lower end of the pay scale for our teachers. This list, again, we either compete with these districts for our human resources, or they are comparable to us in size to give us a good reference. Quickly doing the math, you can see we are coming in at about $4,500 below the state average as it pertains to our payroll. So how are our kiddos doing? This chart is showing you some results from the SAT benchmarks. These are the percent of GHS students who met or exceeded the college and career readiness benchmark for reading and writing. We are happy to see that our Goffstown students have outperformed their peers on the state level by an average of 6 percentage points. Similarly here, this is the percent of GHS students who met or exceeded the college and career readiness benchmark for mathematics. And again, we're looking at our Goffstown students exceeding their peers at the state by a level of about 7 percentage points. As for our children in other grades, this graph shows you the English language arts result for the Smarter Balance for our students in grades 3 through 8. This chart here is demonstrating the same data, but for math instead. So you can see that our kiddos, in comparison to their peers, are doing quite well. They are holding their own or exceeding these benchmarks. And as we pointed out in the other slide, we are getting these results with a comparatively low cost per pupil. So these are how our kiddos are doing with these tests. How are they doing in other areas? And I'm really pleased to share that they're doing quite well. As you know, we've had multiple teams make state championships, or they've been runner-ups, and that's both in Mountain View and GHS. Our student athletes have competed at regionals. They've competed at All New Englands. We've certainly had several athletes who have earned scholarships to go on to college and play their sport. Our artists are doing marvelously year after year after year. They are recognized on the state level, sometimes at the national level for the Scholastic Art Awards. Our musicians are going to All-State. They're enjoying international travel with their programs. Our select choir went to all New Englands. Down at the middle school, our musicians, our choir earned an A rating at large group. We've had 12 musicians go on to large group there. All of our students are doing well in geography Bs, spelling Bs. We've got first place team at the New Hampshire Science and Engineering Expo in their subdivision. And we also had a team place first in a Latin competition that involved, I believe, trivia as it pertained to the Latin language. Of course, we've got the Poetry Out Loud champ, Poetry Out Loud alternate champ, not to mention the extensive culture of community service that is throughout all of our schools, K through 12. Just this year alone, they've donated thousands of food items to the local food pantry. They've done pajamas, books, items for teens, and not to mention how much they give of themselves through the hours of volunteerism they do. And this right here, it doesn't even begin to touch it, but Jim's a taskmaster. He's going to ask me to wrap up soon. So I will leave you with this. We are very fortunate here in town to have the school district that we do, but that we have it is through no accident. It's through the hard work of many people, professionals, volunteers, community members who come together for the benefit of our kiddos. And the truth of it is our kiddos are really doing great. They are thriving, and they are doing so in so many different ways. Our schools are worth our investment. When we have healthy schools, we have healthy kids, healthy community. It's just good all around. And if you want to look at real estate, we do know that there is a strong correlation between school system as it pertains to property value and how attractive a community may be for people to move in. We're growing wings here, lots of them, and your support is a part of that equation. I do ask you support Article 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Are there any questions on Article 2? It's a pretty complete presentation. This is your opportunity, because if there are none, we will pass on to Article 3. So, yes. Please come up, introduce yourself tell us your name.
I'm Liz Dolan. I live at 356 Worthley Hill Road in Goffstown. I've been here for almost 31 years, and I was very impressed with the presentation. And I just do wonder what you cut, what the principals wanted that you cut.
Okay, let me just tell you the rules on asking questions. You ask the question to the moderator. The school board may answer. This isn't cross-examination, something I do in my spare time. They're not compelled to, so we'll give them a chance to decide. The old days of going one-on-one, I don't allow. So if the school board would like to answer that, you may. Thank you.
This would be an incomplete list, but we did make cuts to some of the supply lines. We made cuts to some of the facilities-related lines. We made cuts to some of the legal-related lines. Again, we've really kept laser focus on our priorities, but also trying to put as little as through possible to keep our spending low, but make sure that we were addressing the needs. I'm trying to think what else. I think that sums it up. Is that fair?
Okay, are there any other questions? It's your opportunity. Seeing none, I'll close the discussion on Article 2. Yes, well, take a second, then I'll explain what that motion just was. Is there a second? Okay. Thank you. Under the New Hampshire statutes, you may restrict reconsideration of an article that we've passed over. And you've heard this before. The purpose of that, if you recall the good old days of town and school meetings where they would vote on something, and around 11:30 at night, when everybody has left but for a few people, they'd make a motion to bring it back to the table, and then with 10 people left in the audience, they'd vote the other way. Well, to prevent that really essentially, I won't call it abuse, but manipulation of the system, we allow a vote to restrict reconsideration. And if you vote for it, we cannot bring back this article at this meeting. So motion's made and seconded. All those in favor of restricting reconsideration of Article 2, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we'll move to Article 3. This is a collective bargaining agreement article, and under the statute, it's really an up or down vote when it goes to balloting. Any amendment in the amount is deemed, it sends it back to further negotiations, and under the statute, we cannot change the wording of it. So it's kind of a restricted article. I'll read it, then the board can address it. Shall the Goffstown School District vote to approve the cost items included in the 3-year collective bargaining agreement reached between the Goffstown School Board and the Goffstown Educational Support Staff Association, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing levels. And there's 2 columns, and I'll read the year and the amount. 2017 to 18, $23,012. This is the estimated increase. 2018 to 19, $106,454. 2019 to 2020, $106,647. And further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $23,012 in the 2017-2018 fiscal year. This amount to be offset by $23,012 from the food service revenues and the special federal revenue fund for the purpose of funding the additional costs attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement. Dan, do you have a motion to make? Jenny? Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Dan, you're going to present? Here, I recognize Dan Cloutier from the board.
Love it. Thank you. Well, good morning. This is the Goffstown Educational Support Staff. This is a tentative agreement that we've worked on. We had board members, we had staff, we had a lot of GESS staff come in, and we all sat down and we agreed to a number of items. What you're looking at the screen now, and it's important to notice that there is no amount to be raised from taxation for 2017 and 18. I highlighted that in blue because, if you remember when Diane was talking about the budget, where we had a $400,000 increase in health insurance, we also work, and I'll explain a little bit different, the health insurance is completely, the change in the health insurance to a driver is completely wiping any additional costs for salaries. So we've kind of like done a swap so that we can have a known number for salaries where we have an unknown number for health insurance, and the health insurance continues to increase. We have approximately 170 employees in that bargaining unit. 172 was the last count, but it vacillates. We have some paraprofessionals, custodians, maintenance folks, food service, administrative assistants. This particular contract is for 3 years, and it's effective, if approved, this July 1st through June 30th of 2020. What are some of the priorities we had? Well, we wanted a wage matrix. You can read, but we had a matrix that was started very, very low, and at a certain step jumped up crazy. And so what we wanted to do is flatten that out so that we could attract. The administration could say, hey, would you like? We've had a number of instances where people come, oh, I'd love to work here. And then they said, that's what I have to make? Ooh, I have to look someplace else. So we wanted to get a wage that was workable. So we also wanted to hire based on their experience. Because of the past, let's say, 10 years, we've had times where contracts were not approved by the voters. And so in the following contractual dialogue, they said, you know what? If any new employees come in, you can't give them more than, even if they had 10 years of experience, you can only let them have like 7 years. So you can't bring them in above a certain dollar. And by the way, that dollar is a little lower than normal. So what we wanted to do is flatten that out, so if you had the experience, administration could put you in a salary scale that showed the experience you had. And here it is. We wanted to give them a quality health insurance, but it has the same driver now as what the teachers union has, and I believe a number of the town has. So we could have a better control over the health increase costs. So, compensation highlights. It was difficult to attract. We had an average from 24 cents to $4 an hour less than the nearby school districts. That's pretty significant. And so at our proposed wage matrix, we increased the starting hourly rates and we leveled the step increases. How did we do that? Well, the early steps in the current contract was 3% from 1 to step 10. There are 16 steps. So if you were on step 1, then you had a 3% increase to step 2, 3% increase to step 3, yada, yada, yada. When you get to step 10 and you went to step 11, it was 15.5%. There was a huge jump. We wanted to modify that. So what we did was we started at step 11 and we went backwards 2%. So we went so whatever number ended up back in step 1, we now only have a 2% step increase through 1 through 11. And we froze, there were no changes in step 11 to 16. So if you look at the current matrix, step 11 and step 11 in the new contract are the same. So what are we going to do? Well, you're going to look, well, any employee that's currently in any step between 1 and 2, they will get 1 step on July 1st. So if you're now being paid at step 8, you'll go to step 9. If you happen to be on step 11 to 14, and don't forget there were that salary balance in the lower steps. So if you're in step 11 to 14 and we did not change those, remember they stayed the exact same, the employees will get 2 steps. But what happens if you're on step 15 and 16? The top is 16, so if you're on 15, you can't go 2 steps. It'd be 16 and 16-1. We're going to give them a one-time stipend. And if you're already on 16 and can't go anywhere, you will get another one-time stipend twice as much. It's $500 and $1,000. And it doesn't go into the base pay, so it doesn't affect the percentage rates for the following times. It's a 3-year contract, so in year 2, the wage grid itself will go up by 1%. And in year 3, it'll go up by 1%. And then if you're eligible, every year that you have more service in the district, you can still go up by your step. Longevity. Longevity, if you have people who have been working in the districts for a very long time, and you hit 16 years, and we have a number of them. I don't know how many, but there's probably a dozen or so. The incentive for your wages doesn't go away, so we have a longevity. And if you have 17 years of service, what we've done is we added 25 cents to whatever salary that you were at. We've increased that and allowed for a 50 cents between those years. So, and they also had a cap when they reached 32 years. So we now have a new, so if you are at 32 years of service, you would get an extra 25 cents an hour over what you would have at that certain point. Imagine being in the district for 32 years. That's longevity. That means you kind of like the people you work with, you like the school district you're in. That's wonderful. So, the health insurance. The driver changes. The driver is the insurance that we say is, for instance, I could say it's Access Blue AB20/401K DED RX 10/20/45. I don't know what it all is. Kate will talk to us about that later if we wanted to stay after the meeting. But what it is it's a standard amount that the health insurance would charge. Now, you can still do a different health insurance if you wanted to, but we would only pay a certain percentage of whatever that cost is. And then if you wanted the other health insurance, you would pay the difference. So there's flexibility in the contract to have whatever health insurance you want. You would just have to pay the difference if you're an employee. We also took, right now, if you had 20 hours of work in the district a week, you're eligible. We upped that to 26 hours a week. Right now, there are 6 employees who are having health insurance who are affected by this provision. What we've done is for the new contract, even though the new contract would say 26 hours, we said you have 2 years to migrate and find a plan, which is a significant amount of time, so it sunsets. So in 2 years, if you're still only working less than 26 hours, you would no longer be eligible for health insurance within the contract. And so the specific benefit choices in the event both spouses are both employed by the district. So what happens is, if you happen to be, I'm trying to explain this, you can have 2 one-person plan, you can have a 2-person plan, or you can have a family plan. But you can't have 2 like family plans, like if you had one parent with one child and another parent with one child, you can't have like two-person plans. You family plan. It's a cost. It's a method for us to be able to say, well, if you have 2 people who are married in the same district and related, you just get to choose one plan and make it work. And that's what I have for a presentation. And you can all look at isn't that cool? Oh, it's not done yet, it keeps going. That way you can come up, have time to come up to the microphone to ask your questions. And if we don't have any, I thank you for your time.
I don't have anything anywhere near that cool. Does anybody have any questions on Article 3? This is too easy. We go to moderator school to learn how to deal with hard questions and hard motions, and you're too good a group. If there are no questions on Article 3, we'll close the discussion. The only other agenda item, yes, motion's been made to restrict reconsideration by Mr. Cloutier, seconded by Ginny Kinnan. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. As we said at the beginning of the meeting, we're honored to have Senator Lou D'Alessandro with us. He's very good at attending functions. It's nice for, I would make some comment about people from Manchester coming out to Goffstown. We're an important part of his district, so he's very willing to do that. So Lou, we'd like to have you come forward and tell us all the answers. I typically warn Lou I'll give him a few minutes, and I try to hold him to that.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I must say that coming to these events on an annual basis is really quite revealing, enlightening, and it's a great privilege for me to be here. But I think all of you should appreciate 2 things. The quality of service you get from elected officials who do this at relatively no compensation. The presentation here is outstanding. The work they do is outstanding. They should be commended for that. So I thank them for the public service that they give. I think it's very important. Without it, we're not going to survive as a free society. So remember that. Thank you very much for your service. To the awards, that's wonderful. Congratulations, it's great. You know, we're living in a very, very difficult time, and to see that our community brings people in, allows them to come in, be part of our school system, be part of our society, be part of the life experience of being an American. I think that's wonderful, so congratulations. Thank you very much for all you do. And to the other recipients, thanks for all you do for your community, for your school. And we can't live without that. You know, remember the basic tenet of a free society is education. If we don't think enough of the educational process, then we're in deep trouble. And a free and appropriate public education is really the cornerstone of a free society. Let's never let that get away from us. And we talk about taxes and we talk about keeping things low, but indeed, every dollar that we pay is an investment in our future, our safety, our security, and our ability to thrive in a free society. Never let that go by. I think it's so important. And this community has manifested itself with a great school system, wonderful high school, wonderful elementary schools, a great middle school, a beautiful kindergarten. And all of these things make you feel better about your community. They enhance the value of your property. But the most important thing is you're doing your part to making your community great, your state great, and your country great. Please, we can't forget that. We cannot forget that. I think it's just so important. I'm honored to be your senator. I've been your senator for almost 20 years. It's a great privilege to provide public service. You know, as a teacher, I taught civics. By the way, I've put a bill in to make civics a mandatory part of the curriculum because I think we're forgetting about civic responsibility. We're forgetting about what we as citizens can do to participate in the process. And our knowledge of the process, we should learn about the process. So I've got that piece of legislation in, and I hope it will survive. But the most important message I can give you, and you want to be short because I always want to leave you wanting more D'Alessandro at the end. And as the moderator says, he's got the hook out. But free and appropriate public education. All of my children went through the public system, K through 12. At the post-secondary level, 2 of my children went to public institutions. You know, that's the pride of America. Let's not ever let that get away from us. I implore all of you to think about that. Think about the quality of the education that your children receive, the quality you received, and let's do everything we can to keep that alive and to keep it well. And as I say at the end of a radio program I do on Thursdays, I want each and every one of you to have a great, great American Day. Be happy, be healthy, and keep the dream alive and well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lou. It's an honor to have you here. Well, that pretty much wraps it up. I'd like to thank the board, school board and budget committee. You did an excellent job working together, and it shows. We've seen years when it hasn't always happened, and this is easier, so I appreciate it. Thank you for the town officials who have come, and the members of the general court, as well as Senator D'Alessandro. Thank you to the staff, the administration, and the principals. A few upcoming events. The town deliberative session, the town meeting is on Wednesday, when Peter, Mark, and David can be the center of attention. Please come. You will vote. The voting is on, as I said, the traditional town meeting day, the second Tuesday in March, which is March 14th. And also, please attend the high school musical on February 17th and 18th and 24th and 25th. With that, unless there's any further business to come before the meeting, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for coming.